Twitter. I am posting on Facebook because I know you won't.
There's not a chance I'll remember to do anything that would be helpful.
It's all right. I'll just remember the 17 other things.
Perfect. As long as you're already doing 17 things, you might as well do an 18th thing.
You just show up.
What are
we up to? 5. That's like 200 something. That was like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. You ready to go?
Sure, why not?
Our Discord's getting some followers.
Sweet deal.
Yes.
I'm ready whenever you're ready, dude.
All right.
I'm ready to rock this. Be the greatest. This will be like the Sacramento King Knick game. It'll be such a great episode.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, let's do this.
Are you going to scream the whole time? Because I'm trying to monitor the audio.
Yeah, I'm going to only be really loud and obnoxious.
It's really easy to monitor the levels when you're just going from nothing to screaming.
I have no levels. The only level I have is level up, Jay.
I feel
Sorry.
like you're too loud.
What's up?
I feel like you're too loud.
I'm not. This is too loud?
Kinda.
This is my normal voice, Jay.
Okay. I'm just gonna lower you.
Okay. Why was the other guy on the guy that talks so much? I couldn't hear him.
Okay, I think I got you.
Let's do this. Sorry for bringing energy. Sorry for bringing more energy than Julius Randle brings to the court. Damn, hitting hard tonight.
All right, here we go.
We are the New York Knicks. I'm back in New York. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is K-N-I-C-K.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Everybody, it is the New York Knicks Podcast, episode 562, part of Dash Radio. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
I am doing fine. How are you doing, Jay?
Fantastic.
Good. The how you doings are back and forth. We're nailing this. Show's off to a great start, Jay.
Nailed the intro.
Yeah. The Sacramento Kings are not a good basketball team.
No, they are not.
They are not a good team.
So you trying to say this wasn't the most impressive win of the last decade?
No, it was. Whatever. This is the first game all year where I was like, if we lost this game, it would be an embarrassment. You know what's amazing about Sacramento? I could almost talk myself into so many of the pieces on that team, and yet together they're a collective disaster.
Sounds familiar.
Like if I said to you, "Hey, would you trade rosters with Sacramento?" What would you say, Jay?
I mean, when you go through the pieces, you think like they got Heald and Fox and Halliburton and Mitchell and Bagley, and you're like Rashawn Holmes, and you're like, they should be pretty good.
Right.
It's weird, but I mean, you could do the same thing with the Knicks roster. So,
but the Knicks aren't this bad. Like the Knicks are bad. The Knicks are not great. They're a little bit below 500, having a disappointing season. Sacramento is playing for like the number one pick. I mean, they're not. Well, they have one of the worst. Were they top 5 worst records in the NBA or something?
Yeah, I mean, they're not.
They're terrible.
They're not, Detroit, Orlando bad, but they're down there.
They're not. I mean, Detroit. I don't get even the sense of playing Detroit and Orlando that they look this bad. And I guess the Knicks didn't win by 40 or anything, but the Kings never look like you look like you never should lose to the Kings. I don't. I know they didn't have De'Aaron Fox last night. Why do they look? They've been bad for a. They're the one team you're like, well, at least we don't look that bad as a Knicks fan. You're like that. There's a franchise that's more dysfunctional than our franchise.
Yeah, it's one of those games though that I just don't like because if they win, you're like, well, yeah, they have to win against teams like this, and if they lose, it's like devastating. So it's one of those. There's like 5 or 6 games a season where I don't like it. It's like
right. It's like, what is it, like arm wrestling a girl? Like you, there's no winning. You beat the girl. Well, you should have beaten the girl, and if she beats you, holy shit.
Right, exactly. So,
yeah, but they, I mean, I guess I don't know if they look better or worse with De'Aaron Fox. My understanding is that when De'Aaron Fox and Tyler and Tyrese Halliburton are on the court, the plus minus numbers are terrible, and when one of them's on the court and the other one's not in the court, the plus minus numbers are still terrible. And apparently, the plus minus numbers look best when they're both not on the court.
Both not on the court.
Yeah, which is kind of, I mean, and it's not that many. It's a limited number of minutes where they're both not playing. But it's weird that when your 2 best players don't play, your numbers actually look better.
Yeah, that is not good. Although the Knicks numbers are a lot better when Randall's not playing.
True. But to me, all last night was just one of those, like, we needed that. Like, just like we needed a team that we could just kick the crap out of to feel better about ourselves. And I do feel a little better about ourselves because it's been getting really depressing in Knicks world.
Yeah,
that's what I'd say.
Speaking of depressing, you want to hear some Knicks stats?
By the way, just since last show, they lost to the Bucks. We can talk about that in a bit. And they beat the crap out of the Kings. Tell me some depressing Knicks stats because we don't have enough depressing stuff about the Knicks in this show. Please, Jay.
So net rating,
of the entire Knicks team.
No, per quarter. So net rating is plus or minus basically for the team.
Okay.
First quarter and third quarter, the Knicks are 5th worst.
So the third quarters of doom, 5th worst in the NBA.
It's not just the Mirage. Yeah, they're the 5th worst.
Well, I mean I think what did they say? The Knicks starting lineup is like the 3rd worst 5-man lineup in the NBA.
Right. Sorry, 6th worst. They're minus 7.1 in the third quarter.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess they step up in the third quarter. Okay.
They are the 9th best in the second quarter and the 5th best in the fourth quarter.
That's different. So I have a theory about this.
Mm-hmm.
I know everyone's saying that this shows the bench is just better than the starters and the bench should be starting. Is that basically your conclusion?
Well, yeah, because the bench plays usually the second half of the second quarter, and the game's usually over halfway through the fourth when the bench goes back in. Or that's when the bench comes in and the Knicks do a roaring comeback.
Yeah, so my point was going to be basically kind of what you're saying. I think because the bench unit always plays when they're down, it's easier to be a plot. Like teams are always like if you're up by a lot, you're kind of letting off the gas a little bit, which allows the bench unit to have a better plus minus.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's deceiving a little bit. The bench hasn't been bench has been better than the starters in many ways, but it's not that good because like if you made the bench the starters, they would not look nearly as good because they're not coming to a game where they're down by 20 where where the only way to go is up.
Right, but the minus 7.5 in the first quarter is very, very telling about the starters.
Yes, that would be really telling about the starters. So the Knicks have had some really bad games recently, and everyone said the Bucks game is coming up. Our coach is going to change the starting lineup. Mm-hmm. And he went with a dynamic new starting lineup or the exact same one he's been going with. Is it the trade deadline or is our coach just insane? What do you think, Jay?
I think it has to be the trade deadline. It does not make sense to just do this over. Like Tibbs is an experienced coach. He's a successful coach. He's got to know that things aren't working out. So I have to think sometime in the next 9 days now that there's going to be a move, and it's one of the guys that are being showcased.
So they showcased them really well by putting them in a terrible lineup that doesn't do anything. But yeah, no, I agree with you. So last year, we kept saying, well, I'm sure Elfrid Payton will no longer start after the trade deadline. And what happened, Jay?
He started until halfway through the first playoff game, which is when you really want to start tinkering with your lineups.
So halfway through the first playoff series. So Yeah, so
Wasn't it just the first
basically,
playoff
we had a
game?
theory about the trade deadline last year, and it proved to be completely. We were like, well, they're going to trade Elford. They're going to trade Elford. That's the only reason he's starting, and we were wrong, obviously.
Well, I mean, it could have been just that nobody wants Alfred.
Well, that's not true, Jay. I mean, Phoenix has him as their fifth backup point guard, so clearly someone wanted him.
Because I mean, like somebody was arguing with me on Reddit today that Kemba's the easiest contract to move, and I was like, yeah, if you would completely ignore his play on the basketball court, like 2 years, $9 million is not bad if he can do anything. But like, you know, he doesn't even know if his knee's going to work from day to day. He can't cover anybody. Like, it's not a good contract.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you can try to talk yourself into these guys. Like Kemba, you say, well, right now he's utilizing the Knicks. He's not told to just go out there and score. And maybe if you put him in a bench unit of a team that just needs scoring off the bench, Kemba can go crazy because you don't have to worry about passing. He just like shoot a lot.
Absolutely, but that's a pretty expensive bench piece.
No, well, I mean, that's like the Lou Williams role where you just put Lou Williams in, like you're just asking him to score.
Mm-hmm.
Can Kemba be a spark? Can Kemba be a spark off your bench?
When his knee feels like working, yeah.
Well, that's the issue. So the bigger issue is, well, maybe we trade for him if he was going to be healthy, but we don't even know if he's going to consistently play. Like,
right, that's my point. Like, you know, if it was a guy who had Kemba's skills, but like his knee was working, yeah, you take a chance on it. And maybe you got a 6th, 7th man coming off the bench, and it works out. But like, if you don't know if his knee's just gonna completely fall off in the next 2 months, like,
I mean, if you're let's say you're the Lakers, and the Lakers need help, if the Lakers say we'll give you, I don't know what they'll even give you for him. Well, let's just say they'll give you a 2nd round pick for him.
What do the Lakers even have?
They don't have their next 1st round pick they could trade. I think is in 2027.
Yeah, the Lakers Lakers fans seem to think that Talen Horton-Tucker can get you any player in the league. I've seen so many fake trades with these players that they're getting for Talen Horton-Tucker. The guy's shooting 25% from 3. That is now worse than Obi, because Obi's actually been pretty good lately.
Yeah, he's actually been decent lately from 3. So if they called you and said they want Alec Burks, and they give you the 2027 1st round pick, would you do it? In theory, that could be a good pick, but also that's a while from now.
At the beginning of the season, I would have said go to hell, but the Knicks aren't going anywhere this season. Maybe, like, Burks is good, but he's not going to be part of the young core. And you say maybe that frees up some minutes for more Grimes.
Cam Reddish?
And yeah, why not? Maybe the Lakers suck in 2027.
So I don't know what the assets also the Utah Jazz have, but they just had what's his name injured. Jay, fill in the name.
Surprisingly, he wasn't on my fantasy team, but what was his name?
I can't believe I can't remember the name. We are the worst possible show. I can't remember anyone's names.
Now I know why our show never took off.
I can't remember basic facts about it.
It's like the biggest news of the week.
Joe Ingles. So he's injured. Clearly the Jazz know Alec Burks. They could clearly use him. They're clearly trying to compete this year. So there are guys on the team that should have value. Alec Burks should have value to a playoff team. So should Fournier. He should also have value to a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Fournier.
Fournier's looked a lot better. I think he's shooting this month. I think I looked the other day. I looked earlier today. I think he's shooting 43% from 3 in January.
Yeah, I came to the realization yesterday that if I actually made no fantasy moves the whole season, I would probably be the best team in the league. Like, all 4 guys I dropped are just going off this month.
Okay, so Jay, I want to throw out to you some ideas for trades. Oh, actually, the big news also in Knick world is the guy we want, Jalen Brunson, has said he prefer to re-sign with Dallas. or has indicated this.
Really? He wants
So-
to play with one of the best players in the league on a playoff team?
I know it doesn't make sense to me either. But basically they said he prefers to stay there. For some reason he wants to keep playing with a team that's competing. But basically his people or someone has assured, ESPN has reported this. So if Jalen Brunson is off the table, that's kind of the major guy we were thinking about getting. The next guy, basically, De'Aaron Fox.
Mm-hmm.
What would you go? Would you trade Julius Randle for De'Aaron Fox? Fox makes about $35 million. Randle makes about 20, give or take.
I know it's, and Fox.
I guess Randle's contract goes up a little bit, but it's about a $10 million extra into the cap. And maybe it's 25. Randle's goes to. I forget exactly, but it's basically about a $10 million difference.
Fox's shooting really worries me.
From 3, but he's shooting from 2 is fine. He could be a little more efficient, but he's not bad. It's just his 3-point shooting is not great. Is it terrible that you can have a guy that the point guard have to shoot threes?
No, but he does, and he shoots a lot of them.
Well, you could also correct that. You can tell him that he doesn't shoot a lot of them. What, does he shoot 3 a game?
Oh, is that it?
Maybe 4 a game. Here, I'll pull.
Okay.
Yeah, I look. He's not shooting a crazy amount of threes.
Okay, I could deal with that. I probably would, and not because I think Fox is necessarily a better player than Randle.
Well, I mean, it's just a different position. But yeah.
It's not even the position. I think that Randle, there's something going on mentally, which worries me more than if he had like a gimpy leg this season. And I don't know if he's going to recover from it. I think the Hawks broke him, and I don't know if there's coming back from it.
So De'Aaron Fox shoots about 3.7 threes a game. Last year he shot 5.5. So he's actually shooting.
That's what I was thinking. Okay,
yeah, he's shooting less than last year. His shooting percentage sucks from 3, but if you get him down to 2 threes a game, you can kind of live with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's scoring 20 points a game. From the field, he's about 46%, and probably a little higher when you don't count the terrible 3-point shooting. Not as efficient as you'd like, but this year he's averaging 21 points a game. Last year he was 25 points a game and 7 assists. Those are nice numbers from a point guard. He can penetrate. I not that he's maybe, I don't know if he's the answer at point guard, but it would be maybe that would be a better fit for this team than Randle.
It might be, because then you clear up minutes for Obi and probably maybe Sims and Cam.
Yeah, you get more guys in the rotation. And maybe RJ not having I mean, maybe RJ would look better without Randle here, with a little more spacing. Maybe. And it pretty much gets everybody on the team in the same age range. Not that Randle's old, but he's a couple years older than the rest of them. So like, you kind of have. Well, Fournier. I guess Fournier is older, obviously, but
yeah, but I'm just assuming that he's going somewhere.
So I guess the question really is, and the other moves out there. There's some people clamoring for the Knicks to get Westbrook, and that's mostly the Lakers.
It's mostly people.
And I guess the theory behind the Westbrook move, if you want to talk yourself into it, you could clear just a lot of cap space. Westbrook is signed through next year. Randle signed a few years more. Fournier is signed 2 more seasons. You basically include Fournier and Randle and maybe Noel. I don't know, someone else's contract in there, and you can clear a bunch of cap space. What you're going to use that cap, and basically you'll have that cap space locked up for 1 more season, and then the year after that you have lots of cap space open.
Yeah,
and on the positive, lots of cap space sounds really good. The Knicks also had a lot of cap space going into this summer and didn't do jack shit with it. But if you're upset about all the cap space being ruined by like Randle, say, this would clear that and give you a point. The Westbrook move would clear that, and you could also maybe you play with Westbrook or maybe you cut him. I don't know.
Then like next year you're back to we need a point guard.
Right. I mean, you could also just say maybe Westbrook could make the team. I mean, Westbrook on the Wizards, they looked pretty good with him last year. I mean, things aren't working well with the Lakers, but maybe Westbrook is allowed to run the team. There's no like dominant players like a LeBron that need the ball, and so he doesn't need to play off the ball, and maybe he helps RJ develop.
Yeah, he seems like he's wore out his welcome on every team he's been on.
It's been a few teams for now. I mean, his style. I mean, in fairness to him, his style did not work very well with James Harden. He went to a team with LeBron, and Westbrook doesn't like to play off the ball, which is fine. I mean, not fine, but like you put him on a team where he doesn't have to play off the ball, maybe he just looks better.
I don't like it. Nomad says, any interest in Dragic's $19 million expiring contract? Raptors are ready to trade him.
Dragic refuses to play for the Toronto Raptors, a very functional team. Why would he not refuse to play for the Knicks?
Well, if the Knicks traded for him, he'd probably start, and he didn't want to play on the Raptors as like a 10 minutes a night off the bench in garbage time.
You know, I have to say, and I guess I've said the Knicks should trade for Ben Simmons, and that's obviously like even a crazier situation. But I don't like the idea. Dragic is an older player. I'm sure he would actually help the Knicks, but he's also like, I don't even understand why he's refusing to play. All these guys refusing to play just piss me off. It's so absurd that you're getting this much money. You're like, nah, I don't want to play because I don't like my role in the team. But you have to give me my money.
At least Ben Simmons is not getting paid.
He's getting fined, right?
Yeah, he's gotten fined $19 million so far.
What the hell's wrong with him?
It's
Like, he doesn't even like just play. Show up and get your money. I don't understand. Not that like money's everything, but like it's also you want to play in the NBA, right?
This guy's arguing with me on Twitter right now, saying like,
Jay, are you going to report all your Twitter arguments to us?
No, the other one is a Reddit argument.
Okay.
A lot of arguing going on. No, he was saying that like he's standing up for himself and like he has no leverage, and I feel like he's losing a lot of money. Like, do you think any GMs are looking at this saying like, wow, he really stands up for himself when mildly criticized after having one of the worst playoff performances of all time? I'm going to give a lot for this guy.
I mean, a better way to stand up for yourself would be go on the court and play better.
Maybe show up after the offseason with a three-point shot and be like, look, I improved my game.
It's weird also because like you are so forget the money part of it. Just to say he's like I've got a lot of money already. I don't like an extra $40 million for a normal human being would be great. It's not as important to me. Fine. But you also are competitive and want to play basketball, and you have a finite number of years, especially in your prime, left.
That's
why
the
not?
craziest part. It's not like he's 35 and he knows his prime is past him, and he's just, like, this is, you never know. He could come back and tear an ACL, and that's it.
Can't you also get past like you're like Joel Embiid is crushing it, an MVP candidate. Hey, the East is kind of wide open. No one looks that amazing in the East. You could actually go to the finals this year if you just come back and play next to Joel Embiid.
They're a game out of the 1 seed right now, and that's without him. That's also not helping his case. The fact that they're almost in first place without him.
Let's go back to the Knicks in 1 second.
Well, this relates to the Knicks because like a lot of people want the Knicks to get him, and he can't handle this situation. Do you think New York media is going to do this guy any favors?
They talk bad about me. I refuse to play. Hopefully things will work out well in New York because New York never boos their players.
Yeah,
there's never an issue. No, we need criticism whatsoever.
Please don't look at the back page of the Post or Daily News.
We have like a psychotic amount of criticism you get in New York as a player. The other players that have been rumored as part of it, and obviously Leon Rose keeps everything very tight-lipped, so we don't know what he's actually going to do. The other players out there are Sabonis and Miles Turner. For a little while, everyone was kind of clamoring about them. I feel like the Knicks aren't going to make a move for those guys.
Mitch started playing a lot better, and all that chatter just died.
Yeah.
When Mitch was tweaking his ankle like every other game and looking super slow, everyone wanted him. But Mitch looked like he got used to the extra weight, or maybe he shed some weight, and he's looking a lot more mobile now. And he actually has done a couple things on offense that weren't just alley-oops. And
he had another drive to the basket last night. He took the ball, dribbled, and did like a little like layup thing. That was great.
Isn't it amazing that we get so excited when one of our players drives the lane? Like, we had a nice drive yesterday. I was like, oh my God, Obi drove it.
I feel like Mitch, the issue with Mitch, I want to, like, on the one hand, I criticize him a lot. On the other hand, there really is, like, you feel like if they just developed him a little better, there's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so what do you think? Okay, here's the quick question to you: Will Leon Rose, is he thinking about this year or future years at the trade deadline?
He should be thinking about future years because the Knicks are in 11th, and they have the second hardest schedule in the league going forward.
Agreed, Jay. But my question really is not what you think he should be doing. What do you actually think Leon Rose is? Like, what do you think Leon Rose is thinking right now? For, like, is he trying to get better for this year? Trying not to make sure the season ends well? Is he just like, this season is trash and I'm just worried about next season, the future seasons? What do you think Leon Rose actually is going to do at the deadline?
He has to be looking at future seasons. He can't think like we're a move away from competing. Like,
yeah,
maybe a move away from eking into the play-in game and getting embarrassed in the first round. And that's, I have to think like the signs we have, the Cam Reddish trade, that clearly wasn't a trade about this season. That was trade more about next season than this season, right? In the future. Yeah. I have to think also these contracts he got, none of them are crazy long. Like he got them with the idea that maybe he'd move them later. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wonder if he sees some of these things. Like the Knicks are in the bottom 5 in field goal percentage in the paint and mid-range field goal percentage.
Field goal percentage in the paint, they're in the bottom 5?
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. I just want to ask you to say this again. So the Knicks have a player on the team who shoots about 78% from the paint in Mitchell Robinson. And yet, overall, they're in the bottom 5 in the league in the paint.
So Cam Reddish gives the Knicks 6 of the 32 players in the league who shot worse than 49% on at least 100 attempts in the paint.
Jesus Christ.
Alec Burks has the worst mark with 38%.
Shh. Jay, that's a secret. Do not mention how bad Alex Burks has been in the paint. If not, the rest of the league, Burks is a sniper from 3. He can also be a starting point guard. He's going fast. Bye. Trade with us. Don't mention that, Jay. It's just going to hurt us.
And on mid-range shots, Julius Randle is the second worst in the league among players who've taken at least 100 attempts.
I thought he had the lowest effective field goal percentage for guys that have taken like 100 attempts. Julius Randle.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I at least recently he did. I don't know if he still does. Who else is in the bottom 5 or the other guys? So it was Cam, Burks, RJ's horrible around the rim, right?
Yeah, it didn't list all of them. It just said Cam, Burks, Randle, but yeah, I'm guessing it's RJ, probably Fournier.
Yeah. You want to do some questions?
Yeah, let's do some questions.
Justin writes, okay. At least we're not blank fans, and name a franchise that sucks more ass than us. I'm going to lead with this, Jay, and say the Sacramento Kings. I think it's more of a disaster to be a Sacramento King fan, despite them. They have so many pieces. They still look like garbage. So your turn, Jay.
The Thunder. I know they had 1 million picks, but are you super excited for anybody other than Shea?
They do have 1 million picks. I am not sure how they're going to use all these picks, but they do have 1 million picks. I don't know. I don't think I'd be so. Are you really so upset as an Oklahoma Thunder fan? I mean, you had not that long ago. You had Durant, Westbrook, and all that. You had those guys. It was a little while ago, and you somehow screwed up keeping all of them. But I don't know. I mean, with all these picks, I'd get excited. I'm not that like. Don't they have a ridiculous number of first-round picks?
What was it?
Don't they have a ridiculous number of first-round picks?
They do. They have a lot. We didn't say that they announced the Rising Stars game.
They did?
Rookie sophomore.
Okay.
So, do you want to know who on the Knicks got on?
It better be Grimes.
It is nobody.
Okay, whatever. It's more chips on the shoulder. Whatever. I mean, it's actually a pretty deep class this year.
The Pistons, Magic, and Rockets all have 3 apiece.
What's the roster? Do you have it in front of you?
Uh,
Just not the sophomores. Just the. Well, I guess that means OB and IQ didn't make the sophomore roster.
No, they did not. So the rookies are Cunningham, Josh Giddey, Chris Duarte. This guy I don't even know. Ayo Donsamu.
Yeah, the guy he's on the Bulls, right?
Oh, okay. Evan Mobley, Franz Wagner, Scotty Barnes, Jalen Green. I don't know Herbert Jones.
It's a pretty deep class. That's the
Sengun, Suggs, and Mitchell.
Okay. I mean, who's in the sophomore class?
LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, Bain, Sadiq Bey, Halliburton, Maxey, Tate, Cole Anthony, Isaiah Stewart, Jaden McDaniels, Isaac Okoro, and Precious Achiuwa.
I mean, to be fair, everyone is lauding Leon Rose. And a lot of those guys were like higher picks than we could have gotten anyway. But a lot of people are lauding how amazing Leon Rose has been drafting. Mm-hmm. And 2 draft classes, and none of them are on this team are playing in the Rising Stars game.
Yeah, but they're better. It was just one of the biggest snubs of all time.
You know what? Okay, forget that. Grimes actually looks really good. What do you think of Grimes? That's as far as my biggest takeaways from last night. Are Sacramento sucks and Grimes keeps looking more awesome.
The thing is, Grimes has been really good in January. He didn't play enough in November and December, and he's not on anybody's radar right now.
That's fine. Yeah, you're right. He's under the radar because he hasn't played enough, but he's looking really good lately. He's shooting 40% from 3. Also, his 3-point shooting is not what excites me. His defense is really exciting me. His defense looks awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And he
loves
the dude it too. So he has a passion for defense, which is great.
Yeah, he's giving you the defense everyone claimed Frank gave you, but also being a relevant part of the offense, which is even better. But he was annoying the crap out of Sacramento on defense. There's a bunch of plays where you're like, either he caused the turnover or indirectly caused the play to work, them to miss them Sacramento to screw up.
I hope the Knicks fans embrace him like they embraced Frank, because he's better than Frank.
They will. Knicks fans, it is not hard to get Knicks fans to go all in on a player they draft.
Yeah,
the team drafts. I mean, for a moment or two, Knicks fans were absolutely in love with Alonzo Trier. Knicks fans will get in love with any young player who's plays well.
I mean, I think we had about 3 episodes about Landry Fields.
Oh, Landry. Okay, another team that I would be upset if I was a fan of is the New Orleans Pelicans. Zion will not play this season likely, and he will be a gigantic disappointment. And I use the word gigantic literally. The pun was intended, yes. And man, they've had so many pieces on that roster, and they are just terrible. Yeah, I mean, that would be a sucky franchise to root for.
Yeah, that's got to be really frustrating. They had what looked like a really good team, and then just did nothing.
Hey, you got Anthony Davis, but he wants to become a Laker. Fine, we'll give you Zion, but he's not going to really play. Okay, you got Lonzo Ball, but you have to give him up. It's just they're who else would be really frustrating to root for? Give us one more, Jay.
Okay, probably Detroit.
That's what I was going. Pistons just suck. Cade Cunningham, maybe he'll end up being pretty good. He's not been that amazing for his rookie year. The guy they drafted last year sucks. Detroit's bad every year.
They haven't been good. I was going to say Houston, but I was like, well, they were a couple seconds from the finals a couple times recently. So even though it's bad now,
they had a nice run with Harden.
They had a nice run, and they have some nice pieces still. I mean,
yeah, I wouldn't be upset to be a Houston fan.
Yeah, but
okay.
Detroit's been miserable since I don't know, almost
since they played the Lakers in the finals.
Yeah.
Anthony Rice. Did you know that Obi is actually shooting 34% from three on the road while hitting only 15% at home? Crazy stat.
That's that is pretty wild.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess. Well, he's had a couple good games very recently. I forget, but they must have been road games. That must have influenced those stats.
Yeah.
Someone asked how to get on the Discord to listen live. Jay, you want to tell everyone?
Our Discord is NY Knicks Podcast, and I posted the link on our Twitter, which is NY Knicks Podcast, and our Facebook, which is NY Knicks Podcast. You could also email us, nyknickspodcast@gmail.com, if you still can't find it, and I will send you a direct link. But
you can message on the show. You can call us during the show. Lots of cool things you can do with Discord that we have not tried yet.
Yeah,
Greg
we
writes.
just started the Discord group, and so we're we got a bunch of chats going on, and yeah, it's fun. So join it.
Greg writes, heard D Rose is in the house, Jay. Yeah, so D Rose claims he'll be back shortly after the All-Star game. Jay, will the return of D Rose mean the Knicks will have a wild? Will the Knicks really turn around the second half with D Rose coming back?
They're gonna look a lot better, but the schedule is so tough. I don't see it happening.
I mean, they looked pretty bad with Rose earlier this season. Nothing against Rose. D Rose is not in the starting unit, so the starting unit's going to look pretty bad.
Yeah.
Greg writes, realistic trade ideas. What trade ideas? Okay, Jay, next week I guess we'll be the last show before the trade deadline.
Yeah.
But if you had to say one move you want the Knicks to do, who's your number one player you'd like to see traded?
Kemba, but I know I think it's gonna be a difficult sell.
Okay, so are you prefer they get rid of Fournier, or do you prefer they get rid of Burks, and what kind of return should we expect?
I would prefer they get rid of Fournier. Not that I like Fournier. I just feel like it just makes more room for the younger guys. Burks, I feel like he can just fill in spots. He could play a couple positions. Fournier's could basically just play the two. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Fournier get traded. Then you see a lot more Grimes. And
what kind of returns should we get for Fournier?
Picks or expensive.
Are you just gonna say picks or players? What you can get for every player? Jay, I mean, what is he worth? What's the maximum return? Are we expecting a first round pick for Fournier?
I think if you got a first, it would be a late, and then it would have to be. His contract's pretty big. That's the problem. He's getting $17 million.
What's the point of trading him if you're not going to get some return for him? He does contribute, right?
Yeah.
Or you're just trying to clear his spot in the roster.
Yeah, trying to clear a spot on the roster. So maybe it's a larger contract that some other team's trying to dump, and they'll attach a first with that.
You don't think he has enough value that alone where people are like, I want to get Fournier, I'll give you a first for it because we're competing this year?
Well, you have to match salaries too. So
right, that's true. You have to max out. But let's just say the Knicks have him for 2 more years. Let's say it's the next salary you get back has 1 more year and you get a first. Would that be?
Yeah.
I know the matching salary stuff makes it really a lot harder. Goddamn NBA.
Yeah.
Adrian writes, what is Jay's update on the Randall is better Nick than Melo? Jay, do you want to apologize to Melo?
Probably the worst take I've ever had on the show.
Yes, that was a pretty horrible take, Jay. Can you explain yourself?
No. Last year Randall had a better season than I think any of the Knicks Melo seasons, but his first and this year has been worse than any of the Melo seasons. So,
hey, I have a question for you, Jay. And I love. I'm gonna before I even say this, I like RJ a lot. I think he's gonna be a really good player. I am not knocking RJ, but Jay, RJ was the number 3 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Look at the last 5 drafts and the number 3 picks, and tell me where would you rank RJ as far as guys you would like?
I mean, I don't have that memorized. So do you have?
You don't have that memorized?
I don't.
That really is like. I think you should become better prepared for the show,
I
Jay.
know, I
How do
need
you
to
not have
do
that?
more-
How do you not have
more
that
prep
in
for the
front of
show.
you? So this past year, it was Evan Mobley. Would you rather have RJ or Evan Mobley?
That's a close one.
Okay. While you think about that,
Yeah.
last year, the number 3 pick was LaMelo. Would you rather have LaMelo or RJ?
LaMelo.
The year before was RJ. The year before that was the number 3 pick was Doncic.
Yeah.
The year before that was Tatum. I'm not knocking RJ in any way, but look at those 5 years. We probably got the worst of the 5 player of the 5. I mean, Mobley looks pretty darn good.
He does.
We probably got the. It's like if you were like, if I could get the number 3 pick in any of those other drafts, I would have been a little happier.
Yeah. Anthony, did you want to talk? I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not bad, not bad. Hey, I was just quick thoughts, because we were talking about like how bad Fournier is on defense and stuff. But it seems kind of strange to me because it seems like everyone is playing bad defense. So why people are picking up on Fournier when I see RJ Barrett doing the same thing, like in all games, and of course Randall is playing like garbage defensively, right? So I think that Fournier has value, and you can see the last game he was on fire, and he's not the disease. He's a symptom of the system, right? We don't have a point guard. We're not running our offense like normal team supposed to do, right? So I don't know. Was just thinking about that because Fournier with a good point guard, and if all the guys are playing defensively a little bit better, I think he will look a lot better. But if anyone blows by Fournier and nobody is helping, then I mean, what can we do then?
Yeah, I think he's gotten a lot of crap because he replaced Reggie Bullock, who Bullock wasn't an amazing defender, but like people are like, Reggie Bullock was here last year and the Knicks had a top defense. Now they replace him with Fournier and the defense is garbage, and they give Fournier a little bit too much crap when it's a much bigger picture issue.
Exactly, because I think that Burks was playing a lot better defensively. RG was playing way better defensively last year, and of course Randall and my God, Noel. I mean, everyone was playing at the top of their game defensively, and now all of a sudden, like nobody is playing defense. But here's the problem. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet you're right. I agree with you. And a better functioning team, or just like his defense would not be as big of an issue. I think. I don't know with Randall. I don't know if there's anything going on outside of the basketball arena, but I do think when his shot is not going down, that just makes him pout and not give the full effort the rest of the time. Like if his shot's going down, he'll play hard defense. When he's missing shots, he's just like lost on offense and his defense suffers. RJ, we were hoping RJ would become take the next step up in defense. He really hasn't yet this season.
And he is not. But that's the problem. This team, like everyone is playing the same way. If the shots are not falling, no one is playing defense, and that's all.
I agree with you completely. Right. Like I would think Fournier would have a lot of you haven't any team that wants to compete in the playoffs and that needs an extra scorer. At the very least, you'd love a guy like Fournier off the bench because he's a really good shooter. He can get hot and make a huge difference in any game. He also, his defense isn't great, but it shouldn't be as big of an issue as it is on the Knicks. It's just because everyone else
exactly.
Also, yeah, and you play him next to Kemba, and you're like, hey, Fournier, I know you're not great on defense, but we have a guy next to you who's a disaster on defense. See how that goes.
It's even worse, exactly.
Right. It's
like
the problem.
Team has at point guard and at shooting guard, not every team has two stoppers. It's not a problem from every single team in the league. So
a lot of teams have guys who aren't amazing on defense. Like Trey Young is not a great defender. Atlanta can hide him because they don't surround him with four other guys that can't play defense either.
Right.
It's been really, and Tibbs' defense has been built around having a strong rim protector, Noel and Mitch. Mitch has been getting better lately, but has not been as dominant of a defensive player as we would hope or like we expected. Noel has been barely healthy most of the season. So that kind of kills you right there. They've had a lot of problems on defense this year. And I also feel like to a certain extent, they've also had a lot of bad luck with guys just kind of going off when they somehow they've caught guys on the night they can't miss a shot, a 3-point shot also. But
I think that like we obviously need a point guard, and all the talks leads to like trading Fournier or Randall. I think that we're gonna miss Fournier. Like once we have a point guard, we're gonna miss him definitely.
So I'd say the thing with Fournier also is that a night like last night when he's hitting his shots, you're like, hey, I really like this guy. Why can't we seem to make this work? And we're going to really miss this guy. Totally fair. But there are a lot of nights where he's just disappeared. And that also has been the issue. That's the thing.
I understand that, but that's the problem. Like, you see, like, most of the games that he plays well, he starts hot at the first quarter, but then the team gets away from him, and he doesn't touch the ball. He's a rhythm shooter. He needs the ball, But the way we're playing offensively, like you just give the ball to Randall for 17 seconds and then you try to make something up. I don't know. You can't find your rhythm like that.
So the numbers I'm looking at his splits in October, which is only 6 games. Fournier shot 45% from 3, which is awesome. In November and December, which was 29 games, he shot 36% and 32% from 3. He was a much more mediocre 3-point shooter. And then in January, which has been 14 games in January, he shot 45% from 3. So basically, for 20 games this year, Fournier shot about 45% from 3. And for about 29 games, he shot about 34% from 3. And it's that middle section that really made people not like Fournier. But now everyone's like, oh, he's hitting his shots again. I like him again. You know what's crazy? Actually, I just looked. Fournier's free throw percentage also kind of sucks the last 2 months. Why can no one in this Knicks team hit a goddamn free throw?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
The thing is that, that you have to give them the benefit of the doubt because he was just getting in this team, right? Like he's gonna have some bad games. He's trying to get in rhythm and try to know an offense that doesn't assist. So of course he's gonna struggle for a few games like those you mentioned in the middle. But overall, I don't know. I think he's not that big of a problem if we surround him with a better defender and stuff like that. But that's all.
He's not. I agree. He's not as big a problem as people are making it out. And if he was here next year, it's not a problem. It's like he's a good player. I don't know. It's figuring out this Knicks issue is a really tough issue of how to figure out how to propel this team forward. And then you add a guy like Cam Reddish into the mix, and I'm like, well, you just traded for him, a first-round pick. You got to play him, but it's hard to figure out even how to fit minutes in for Cam. Jay, how do you fit minutes in for Cam?
You got to let either Burks or Fournier go. It wasn't anything personal against Fournier. It's just you got a lot of young players, and if you're going to go a youth movement, there's a log jam right now.
Right, but if while they're here, can Tibbs go like, hey Cam, hey Burks, I know you've been a big part of this team for the last year and a half. We just got this guy Cam. I'm not going to play you anymore.
Then why not just trade him?
Yeah, but that's not Tibbs' job. Tibbs' job is to figure out how to manage minutes. Rose should trade him. But I'm just saying for Tibbs, I know people are giving Tibbs crap also for not playing Cam, and I want to see Cam play. But I think it's a tough situation for him where he's like, Burks has been really loyal and really a hard worker for the last year and a half. I either cut his minutes, or Fournier, we just gave him a big contract. I'm going to cut his minutes. And Grimes, this guy looks awesome, this rookie. I'm not going to cut his minutes. Like, Leon, you have to figure out how to like get one of these guys off the roster if you want me to play Cam, or else you should have traded for Cam.
I think we'll find out in 9 days.
It's Anthony. What do you think the Knicks are going to do at the deadline?
Probably nothing, to be honest. I mean, hey, we can't expect much from this, this team. But if they do something, they definitely need to, I understand what Jay says about getting the young guys in the court, and I agree with that. But then, like, I don't know, it's just difficult because if you're not going to trade for a point guard, then you're not doing much. And then you have Quickly, who is playing like, I don't know, he's not playing good minutes at point guard. He's not shooting the ball well. Like, why are we so in love with him? I mean, he's an asset, apparently. Maybe we should move him.
Because the
I don't want to move Quickly, but he looked better last year, though. It's hard not to agree. It's hard not to think that. Are we just asking too much of Quickly because he's not really a point guard? Asking to run this team is a little much.
But if he doesn't run the point guard and he doesn't shoot well and he's an undersized too, then what can you expect from him? Like, I don't know what's the real value there. I mean, it's fun to watch, but he doesn't fit the things that we need from him, right? Like, we need a point guard, or either that, or we need a bigger guard who can guard, bigger guys. And I don't know, he's struggling in every way, in my opinion.
He's, the last 2 months, he's shot about 36% from the field. That's barely playable.
Yeah, that's really bad.
That's really, really bad. That's just a level of inefficiency. Like, and I like a lot. I think his decision, like, he's looked a little better in some ways as far as his playmaking. But
I disagree with that. Cause
you don't think his playmaking look a little better?
Not really, because whenever he makes a good play, it's probably Obi like flying, so he finds him. That's easy to do. But
throw the ball to the guy that can dunk.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I said, like, throw the ball to the guy that can dunk. Real way to make a decision. Like, obvious. It's an obvious play. You're right.
It's an obvious play, but he doesn't get Fournier in rhythm. He doesn't. I don't know. Like, nothing a point guard is supposed to do. Like, he doesn't get anyone involved. He don't go on screens and then trying to find the open guy. He just look for his shot, and sometimes he just shoot from 40. Like, I don't know.
You don't think a point guard's job is to dribble circles around until, like, there's 2 seconds to go on the shot clock?
Exactly. That's exactly what he's doing every time. Like, he takes the ball, and then, like, 20 seconds later, he's like, "Oh, I'm the point guard, right?"
Right. I kind of feel like we got really excited. I mean, I still think Quickly will end up being a good piece off the bench, but, like, we got irrationally excited about him. And it's not clear why we got so irrationally excited about him. He's got to shoot.
We're Knicks fans. We get excited about everything.
He's got to stop the 40-foot 3-pointers. Like the for no reason at all, 10 feet behind the arc, just throwing it up there. It's just so goddamn annoying.
All right. We got another caller. So,
okay. Awesome.
Thank you, Anthony. And we'll talk to you soon. Let's see. We got... Still trying to figure out this whole... Declan, how you doing?
Hello.
Hey, Declan. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for calling in.
Good.
I just wanted to jump in because you were talking about irrational Knicks fans, and I was looking at Miles McBride. I mean, why aren't we giving him a go?
I don't know. His numbers in the G League have been awesome. I think he's averaging something like he's played, I think, 5 games, averaging something like 28 or 29 points a game with, like, I think has 9 assists per game. He's looked pretty darn good in the G League. Why not give him more minutes in the NBA? I don't know.
I mean feel like the answer is because it's Tibbs, so he's not going to give him a go. But he's only taken like 60 shots in the regular season in the NBA. Like, he hasn't had a chance.
Yeah, no, he had one game where he actually really played the Houston game, and he looked pretty darn good in the Houston game. I mean, in fairness, to the whole Knicks organization, we keep saying they should use their G League to really develop guys, and the Raptors have really used their G League to develop guys. So the Knicks are playing McBride, they're playing Sims down in the G League, and
That's true.
like the Knicks are they're trying to develop them, which is not the worst thing of all. And they're saying, hey, there are some guys we're prioritizing right now over you guys, but we're going to give you a lot of playing time against better than college level competition. You will get better. I mean, McBride playing 6 minutes a night in the NBA or playing 30 minutes in the G League, I'll take the G League minutes over that.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's just frustrating because, he's I'm just looking at his stats and the shooting's not great, but he's got a lot of assists. We know how good he is on defense. But
yeah,
maybe I'm just getting overexcited. I mean, at one point we thought Ron Baker was actually a good player. So
at one point, Knicks fans were saying we've got a lot of pieces here to build around, like Ron Baker. That was a low moment in our in a couple of years ago.
I think next season.
I like that guy.
A lot more.
I like him too. He was a tough guy, but the Knicks have had a lot of guys where the Knicks are like, this guy could be someone. He's part of the future. And then the minute he leaves the Knicks, he's out of the NBA.
It's kind of funny, yeah, when you think about it. Like Chris Copeland, I don't know, Jorts. Remember Jorts?
Yeah. Of course I remember Jorts.
This one. I mean, he did a bit. But...
I remember being so pissed off or just upset that Chris Copeland signed. I think he signed with Indiana after he left the Knicks. And I was like, how could the Knicks not keep the Predator? He would be a great and then he was out of the league pretty shortly thereafter. We get excited, and yeah, George was fun. Also, there's other guys. There are a lot of interesting guys that have gone through the Knicks in the last decade or two.
Even Trey Burke. I mean, God, I feel like I'm going crazy. I almost feel like this team could use Trey Burke. Am I just mental?
Yeah, he averaged about I think 50% from the field. Just he was just shooting so well, and we were like, this guy he was a top 10 pick. Maybe he'll actually be really good. Maybe we found something, and then they always turn to a pumpkin the following year.
Yeah, so that's all I got. But yeah, it's
let me ask you, who
do I know? I mean, as you say,
who are you irrationally excited about on this team?
Oh God, I don't think I'm excited about anyone on the team at the moment.
Not Grimes, at least.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched as much this season as I did last year, which is a bit frustrating. So I've only seen highlights. So. A lot of the time, so Grimes looks great for sure.
Okay, get more Grimes highlights. He's looked. I've been very impressed by Grimes.
Grimes and Sims. I like McBride. I actually didn't like Obi at first, but I'm actually getting pretty excited about him now. Especially with the idea of Randall Day.
Yeah, he was growing on me. Then I got a little down on him, and I hope he ends up being good. He's a guy you really want to root for. Also, I don't know.
He just doesn't know how to use his limbs. He's got all the tools, but you watch him and it's just so awkward.
Yes, I agree completely. We have coaches; they have to be able to figure out how to how to get these guys to better utilize their skills. Sorry, what'd you say?
Probably can't use a knife and fork.
Yeah. What's your prediction for the trade deadline?
I think Burks has got to go. I don't see why we would keep him. I mean, what's the point? He is a good player, but it's a lot of money for someone we don't need, and someone who's pretty attractive to other teams.
Would you trade Julius Randle for De'Aaron Fox?
Yes, and I don't even think Fox is like amazing, but he would instantly be probably the best point guard we've had in years.
It's really a sad state of this team. Yeah, I would just do it. He's a ton of potential, and if you're gonna you might have that potential at point guard because we haven't had that for a long time.
Yeah, he doesn't really solve any of our problems other than he can he can run an offense, I guess, but our spacing would be absolutely awful. But at this point, at least it would be fun. I mean, him and Obi running the floor, that'd be great.
I think that'd be kind of awesome. I agree. And I think he'd make RJ look like just having a point guard that can really penetrate would be and make that'd be pretty big difference. Even if the spacing is not great, whatever.
Just some speed in the offense. It's so frustrating to watch sometimes. I think it's a Tibbs thing generally with the offense, but it's just so slow and just do something. Like, they don't even set any good screens. Like, if you're gonna pick and roll, at least set a good screen, for God's sake. It's I don't know. It just puts you to sleep sometimes watching them on offense.
I kind of want the Knicks. I said this to Jay on the show before, but I kind of want the Knicks to do like I don't know, it's not 7 seconds or less, D'Antoni, but something along those lines, maybe 10 seconds or less. Like, just focus on trying to get a shot off or do something in the first 10 to 12 seconds of the shot clock. Move faster, make faster decisions. Stop with this. Well, I'm going to dribble up the court. Take around 7 seconds to even get across half court. Then I'm going to wait until about their 5 seconds to go on the shot clock before trying to do anything. There are so many plays that get burned. They have to make a last-second decision because they spent the first 15 seconds doing nothing.
I mean, presumably they're being coached to do this because, they're not stupid. They played basketball their whole life. Like, they know how to play basketball, like, on offense. I'm sure they've played in good offenses before. Like, they must know.
You think they're like, Tibbs, I don't understand. We're really going to bore them to death with our offense? Yeah, just go as slow as possible. Eventually, the other team will just collapse out of boredom.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose Tibbs has often had really good players, hasn't he? I mean, God, even when I played basketball, like in England, and I'm terrible at basketball, if you're all not very good, you pass and move, and you try and get the defense moving. But I don't know, it's not the NBA, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't. Are you out on Tibbs at this point, or do you think should Tibbs come back next season?
I'm out on Tibbs, and then I rein myself in, and I realized who we had before Tibbs, and it's not fair. It's really not fair to be harsh. I mean, you can be critical of Tibbs, but it's not fair to be out on him. I mean, he got us to the playoffs, for God's sake, and yeah, the offense sucks, but you got to give him a chance. I mean, we can't just toss people after half a season of crap.
Right. We can't be like, here's your Coach of the Year award, and you're fired. And it's also like the Knicks have had you can't look at what the Knicks have done in the last decade with coaches and then be like, oh yeah, let's move on for another one real fast.
I think you could put D'Antoni on this team, but you're not going to win the chip with this squad anyway. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But
do you put any blame? So do you blame for how bad this team has been this year? Do you put the most blame on Leon Rose, Julius Randle, or Tibbs?
That's a good question. I think you got to say Tibbs, and we don't know the dynamic between him and Leon Rose because it doesn't seem they're on the same page with this Reddish stuff, for example. But ultimately, Tibbs writes the lineups, so he could put a different lineup out there. He could coach them differently, and because a lot of the problems, accountability and effort. It is frustrating when they preach accountability and then you see Randall just huffing and puffing and not trying.
So in defense of So what did you say, Jay? Is that you?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know why. Okay, I would say in defense of Tibbs, if Julius Randle was anywhere near last season's performance playing, wouldn't the team be just 10 games better? Isn't Julius Randle's play what's really crushing the team more than anything?
Yeah, definitely. But so is our free throw shooting,
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of issues. I just wonder, if Randle is playing a ton better, playing more like last year, that he probably gives greater efforts on defense. The overall defense looks better. And a lot of stuff, Tibbs would not look as bad, or he would look a lot better if Randle just wasn't a dumpster fire. I don't know who's the most to blame, I also feel like for Tibbs' standpoint, he probably feels like the only way we end up turning this around is if Randall gets right. So I want to keep giving him minutes and keep giving him the opportunity to turn this around, even though if it's not going well.
Yeah, you're completely right. I mean, he's our best player. People think Derrick Rose is our best player, but I mean, Randall was getting MVP chance last year, So
yeah, I feel like Tibbs has been dealt
with it. It's just the accountability stuff is frustrating because he could be so much better, and he just needs a kick up the ass,
Yeah, I mean, Tibbs clearly is to blame partly for how bad this team is. Randall's partly to blame, and Rose is partly to blame because this is like he constructed this roster, like it's clearly not working out so far. This roster.
Yeah, I mean, I'll leave you guys in a sec, but I suppose you could make the argument that because Rose has added all these extra players, now Randall has to, the ball has to be shared, and I don't know, maybe Randall's ticked off that it's not all through him. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a. Well, hopefully Leon Rose will do something smart at the deadline and make us feel more optimistic going forward.
Yeah, just keep Scott Perry away from anything and everything. That's my opinion.
Scott Perry's looking at the Orlando roster, being like, "We can get some of the players they aren't." I guarantee Scott Perry is like, "Why don't we give a first round pick for Mo Bamba? It'll make a huge difference."
Oh God. Anyway, all right. I love you and leave you guys. But
okay, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate the call.
No problem.
All right. So,
Jay, I assume we're nearing the end of the show.
Yeah, we're well into overtime at this point.
Okay.
Nomad says Randall and first for Fox. Who says no?
Can it not be this year's first?
Yeah, future firsts. Dallas.
Okay, yeah, the Dallas. Yeah, I think I would do that. I'm not saying the Knicks have to trade Randall, but if it involved getting an actual point guard, I think I would do it.
Moon Woman says, do you guys think that a different coach would be giving McBride much more burn at point guard? Not saying it'll make us win more games, but surely we drafted him to play point guard.
Yeah, I think it's just tough because I guess if they're featuring Kemba to try to trade him, it'll be easier to give McBride minutes after the trade deadline. I don't know. They should play McBride. I don't understand why not. Without having a point guard right now, why not just play him?
Yeah, I get playing Kemba and Rose, but playing Burks over McBride at point seemed a little weird.
Yeah. At least Tibbs is. At least we're finding out who's not a point guard in this roster. So far, IQ and Burks are clearly not point guards. Who will he try next? I saw someone somewhere, maybe it was on Reddit, something where someone was like arguing that Grimes should be the point guard. The Knicks fan base is out of their mind sometimes.
Yeah. We haven't had a point guard in so long that the fan base doesn't even know what a point guard looks like at this point. Here's some big news just in time for the Super Bowl. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56, is officially live right here in New York State with mobile sports. That means you can place a bet no matter where you are, like the guy who won $540,000 on a $20 bet by picking the correct scores on both football games last week. You can do that with DraftKings Sportsbooks, and DraftKings is making it even more exciting. Listen to this. DraftKings is giving new customers a special offer that you don't want to miss. Bet just $5 or more on the Super Bowl and win $280 in free bets if your team is victorious. So who do you got in the Super Bowl?
I am going to say the Bengals because sometimes co-host of the Brink of Sanity, Bry is a huge Bengals fan, and it seems like they are having I don't know. It seems like fate is going their direction. I thought they had no chance against KC last week. Rams look good too, but I feel like somehow this is like a miracle season for the Bengals. What do you think?
I'm pulling for them. I always like seeing the team that hasn't won in forever win. Maybe it's my Knicks.
I don't know. When have the Rams won?
I don't know. I don't follow football that closely. I just know the Bengals haven't won in like 30 years.
I don't think the Rams have won in a while either, but yeah. Okay, Jay.
So
before next,
so you can combine a bunch of parlays. You could do something like top rusher, most first downs, total touchdown yardage. The more you put in, obviously, the harder it is to win, but you get some huge payouts if they all pay out. So do that. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Sign up using code NYKP. Bet just $5 or more and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's code NYKP this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full details. Must be 21 plus. Physically present in New York. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. That is it.
The Knicks are playing Memphis in their next game. I would say go on DraftKings and bet the over as far as what Ja will do against the Knicks.
Yeah, definitely.
Before next show, they got Memphis and the Lakers. And depending on when we record, they might have the Jazz and Denver. The next 4 games, what do you think, Jay? Memphis, Lakers, Utah, Denver. What are the Knicks going to do?
Well, Utah's getting decimated by COVID right now, so maybe that'll be a win. I think the other 3 are not going to go well.
Okay, great. Go Knicks.
And so we have we got 2 more emails, nyknickspodcast@gmail.com. We're also NYKnicks Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we have a Patreon, NYKnicks Podcast, patreon.com/NYKnicks Podcast. When we switched networks a couple times, the first 292 episodes dropped off our feed. I am uploading them all on Patreon because I can't do it all at once, and the feed's just going to be messed up if I upload a few and then we put up a new episode. So I'm putting them all on the Patreon. Not doing it to make a lot of money. You could sign up for $1 and get all the old episodes. It does help out the show, though, so we would appreciate it. And we'd also like to give a shout out to Dean, who is our newest Patreon. So thank you very much, Dean.
Awesome. Thank you.
Haggai writes, maybe the Knicks can get a hardship exception, even though no one has COVID, by utilizing a broader definition of the word hardship, as in it's hard for us to win any games, or it's hard for us to sign players that can play together. 2 trades I'd love you all to evaluate. John Collins replacing Randall, probably in a deal with multiple teams and additional assets. Collins allows RJ to operate while spacing the floor in 2 ways via 3-point shooting and as a vertical lob threat. He's an underrated defensive player who will never need to hold the ball like Randall does to be effective. He also makes foul shots. You want to talk about that?
I was all in for Collins, trying to max Collins in the offseason. I know he just returned to the Hawks, but yeah, I would if you could somehow make Randall disappear and Collins appear, I would totally do that.
Yeah, I'd be in for that too. I mean,
I think he's underrated. And I do think I think he would look better without Trey operating the offense.
I'd also like to see him in a really up-tempo offense. Get him out there with, like Obi and Grimes and IQ or something. Just sprint up and down the floor.
I just want to see an up-tempo. I want to see a team doesn't have the slowest pace in the NBA for multiple years.
The other one is Knicks getting Derek White at the expense of Quickly. The Knicks need a point guard. Point guards are in short supply, and the Spurs have 2 starting point guards. White can set up the floor, make shots, and defend. He's not Damian Lillard, more Malcolm Brogdon, but that will do. Grimes has proven to be more effective than Quickly at shooting guard so far.
Anyone that's been coached by Pop in San Antonio sounds pretty good to me. I haven't seen enough of White, but I also think I understand he's kind of like people are interested in him, so I don't know if IQ would get that done at all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sure. That sounds interesting to me.
I like that move.
What about you?
I haven't seen that anywhere else. I think that's good.
I just heard talk about that there's some interest in Derek White. That's all. But he'd be an interesting guy to get. I don't know what San Antonio. You have to think like they're going to turn it around pretty soon. They're not going to be bad for that many years. Like, what's their plan? I'm curious to see how they're going to turn it around there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wonder if they would trade guys, young players who are good. Like, even though you already have Murray there also, would they trade White, or can they just figure out how to make it work there?
I mean, if they think they're not happy with their 2 right now, maybe IQ will play better with Murray than White. Maybe. I mean, you're trading youth for youth, so it's not like
Yeah, it's nothing. It's not a crazy swap either. You're right.
And Ryan writes, "Hey Jay, whenever trade talks come up in the podcast about Randall, you say he's our best player. So my question is he?"
Yeah, I mean it's a good question. He was last year. This year, he hasn't led the team in scoring in a long time, in the last like 20 games. I guess RJ has taken over. If you had to put a power rankings, you'd say RJ is the best player right now, right, Jay? Maybe. I don't. The power rankings are going to be brutal right now.
Yeah, I mean, his last game was pretty bad, but he was on a pretty hot streak before. I would say in January he was probably the Knicks' best player.
RJ was definitely in January, except for if he averaged about 23 points a game, and that's also with missing all his free throws.
Yeah,
if he just made some of those free throws, that average would look even better.
He had a slow start to the season, so I would still say Randall was better at the beginning of the season. It's probably.
I mean, RJ's probably. I mean, RJ had a really bad year also, so I don't know. I don't know who's had a better season because they both had trash seasons.
At this point, I would say it's almost a toss-up. And also, and then Melo fans want an apology. I tell you what, if by next episode things still look the way they do, you'll get a sort of Melo apology episode.
Why are you holding off?
I still think Randall's gonna. I don't, but I don't.
Yeah, like what's he gonna do between now and next episode? They have 4 games. You just said 3 of the games are gonna be losses, but Randall's gonna look good.
I just don't want to do it right now.
You're just thinking I'm not in the right place to do this. I mean, you have to say Melo. No matter what, he always looked good. And like he wasn't always the most efficient on offense, but he always got it done on offense. He didn't have nights where he scored 4 points or 6 points.
Yeah, I know.
Some of the crap Randall's been doing lately has been absurd.
I just have to mentally prepare myself to do a Melo apology. So maybe
Randall's been like not interested in playing or just scared to play offense in some games. It's been ridiculous. I have to say, so the Sacramento game last night, he played a little bit more as part of the offense, and that looked better. He seemed to play a little more in the flow of the offense.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
It's amazing how you could be so good last year and so bad this year. I don't understand.
I think it's mental. That's the thing. He's not injured. I think it's mental, which is why I wouldn't mind trading, because if it's mental, like he might just not snap out of it.
Right. So if we can trade him for Ben Simmons to get an even bigger mental head case here, that would be perfect.
But, somebody else. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for everybody who joined the chat. Thanks for the calls, Declan, Anthony, Nomad, Moonwoman. And we will be back next week, which will probably be right before the deadline. So we might have to do a post-trade deadline emergency episode.
Yeah. I mean, like if anything happens if anything happens at the deadline worth talking about, we will have a post-deadline show. And if nothing happens at the deadline, we will just cry on the following show.
Yeah. All right. So if you want to follow on Twitch, twitch.tv/crumpledbacon, and YouTube is youtube.com/TITOWAJ, and Discord is NY Knicks Podcast. So,
Jay, and what's your home address?
Thank you for listening, everybody. We will be back soon.
What if anyone wants to show up for a beer at your house?
This is the end. Say goodbye. I'm gonna leave you. It's the end. Goodbye. Goodbye. Just leave me alone. Feels so good to say goodbye. I'm sick and tired and I'm saying goodbye. Goodbye, girl. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Everybody.
All right. Thanks.
Did you say you read Blood in the Garden already? Or you?
I did not.
You did not.
No.
But you're gonna get it?
Yeah, I'm gonna get it. Anybody who writes a book that we've had on the show, I get the book of.
I don't know why you're lower now. I could hear you in the show, but I can't hear you now.
I don't know, but glad the audio didn't start screwing